Hey everybody, it's Jimmy with Papa J Vinyl. Thanks for joining in today. This is my fourth video on my channel, so I don't have a whole lot of videos yet. Hopefully I'm getting there. I'm gonna try to do one a day, one every other day if I can. You know, it just depends on time. I'm not in my music room where I wished I was. I'm back in my office where I work. And anyway, I was thinking, thank you guys for subscribing. I don't have a whole lot of subscribers, but you know, hey, for you that did, thank you. If you do want to subscribe, hit the little button on the bottom right corner to subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment. I'd love to read them and see what you think and all that good stuff. I was thinking about what to do on this channel today, on the this show today. So I was thinking about when I was a kid and when I started to listen to music and how many records meant so much to me growing up. Like when I was really little and I didn't know anything about records, man, I only heard what was played on the radio. We didn't own a record player in our house when I was growing up, not that I can remember. Maybe we did, I just don't remember ever seeing one. If I got in the car with my parents, they might have had the radio on or whatever. And I heard songs. As a kid, I was introduced to things like Tiger Beat, 16, all them little teeny bopper magazines where in my day of growing up, it was people like the Osmonds and the Jackson 5 and, you know, people like that. So, so when I was thinking about not necessarily records that made a big difference in my life, but introduced me to music, and I became a lover of music and all kinds of different kinds. I remember when I was a kid, every Saturday I would go uptown to the little town I grew up in, and my dad would go to this little hamburger joint to eat, and he would give me a quarter, and I would walk down about 4 stores down to a little place we called it the Dime Store. It was basically a Walmart that was really small before there was Walmart, and there weren't a whole lot of freaks in the Dime Store like there are in Walmart. But anyway, and for a quarter, man, I could buy a 45 single. And I would go every Saturday and buy a new single. The very first one I bought, I don't know why I bought this single, but it was Rose Garden by Lynn Anderson. I probably heard it on the radio and I thought I liked it for whatever reason. The second one I bought was One Bad Apple by the Osmonds. And I just started buying 45s after that. And then the first record LP I ever got was, I was up in Philadelphia at my grandparents' house, and they bought me a Motown 4-record set of all their big hits with the Jackson 5 and the Temptations, Stevie Wonder, Four Tops, Spinners, and on down the line, Diana Ross. I love that. I played those songs, played them together. And the first record I ever bought LP-wise with my own money, I had saved up a cup full of change. And I took it to a place called Sky City, which was kind of like a Kmart or whatever. And I dropped the cup with the money on the cash register thing there, and I bought the Osmonds, simply self-titled the Osmonds. So that was the first one I ever bought for myself. Played those records to death. But then my dad brought home some records for me, and it started changing the way I've looked at music, started changing what I liked, you know, and I became a very eclectic listener. But you might have been the same way. You remember, think about your childhood, think about records. It really made a difference in your life. It really made a difference. And one thing about music it does, it brings out emotions and memories and feelings, some good, some bad, you know. You think about things that you did when you were a kid, and some song will come on or whatever, or you'll see the cover of a record and it reminds you of a certain time in your life or whatever. So I thought tonight I would share with you some of those records that were heavily influential for me when I was a kid. So we'll start with this one. The very first record that my dad ever brought home to me was this one, Rocky Mountain High from John Denver. I didn't know who John Denver was. I had no idea, but I had gotten a guitar. My dad bought me a Stella acoustic guitar. It was probably $30 at Sears, and I didn't know anything about it. And he bought this record to me a couple days later, and it had the guitar in it, it had the acoustic in it. And a friend of mine in town taught me a couple chords, and then I learned how to play guitar by simply listening to this record. I was 10 years old. But I still love this record today. It's got Rocky Mountain High, of course, on it. The Season Suite on the back. Darcy Farrow, which is my favorite John Denver song. Just Mother Nature's Son, Goodbye Again. It's just a great record. I don't listen to it as much as I used to, but I still love it as a record. So this is the very first record my dad ever brought home to me. Now, the second record he ever brought home to me, not too awful long later, probably a year or two later, he brought this one home to me, and this is a total change. Aerosmith, Get Your Wings. Yeah, buddy. I love this. Is my favorite Aerosmith record. My next one would be Rocks. But I love this record so much. Usually when I go to play Aerosmith, I will put this record on if I don't put Rocks on. Another good one that I like a whole lot is the Aerosmith Live Bootleg. They just reissued that one, remastered it on 180 or whatever. But this is the original version. Sounds great. But this one kind of started me loving rock music. I love the John Denver stuff, the Americana, the country type of stuff. But this allowed me to start loving rock music. So anyway, Aerosmith, Get Your Wings was the second record I ever got. The next one I got, I think a lot of people got this record when it came out. Nobody saw it coming, and we never heard anything like it, for one thing. Boston, the debut from Boston. I remember the first time I heard this, I was in, I think maybe sixth grade. I was in the gym at my school, and somebody asked me had I heard this group called Boston, this band called Boston. I knew who they were. I never heard of them. And I remember somehow in that little course of a conversation, they either told me to listen to this or they gave me a copy of it. I can't quite remember now, but I remember thinking, my gosh, it was so good. And of course, this became a staple of rock music for a lot of people, man. I know this is a record that a lot of people still go to and listen to all the time. Actually, for me, I like their next record, Don't Look Back, better than this one. But that one there held such a high regard and memories and growing up and stuff for me. So another one that came out roughly the same era, same time frame. It was a little different, but I also grew up in a time when disco was starting to take off, right? And even though I wasn't a disco fan, really, per se, I wasn't. I mean, I liked Saturday Night Fever, and I got, that came out when I was a kid. Grease came out. Of course, that wasn't disco, but Saturday Night Fever was pretty big. But this record here is not a disco record. It's just a great record. And when you go to a dance in school when you were a kid, when I was a kid, one of the songs on this record was played all the time called Lowdown. It's Boz Scaggs, Silk Degrees. Such a good record, front to back, really good. Of course, this one didn't go out and dance on the dance floor until the slow song came out, you know what I mean? So anyway, this was another highly influential record for me, Boz Scaggs, Silk Degrees. All right, let me explain these next two. When I was a kid, I don't know if you did this or not, but I loved professional wrestling, like Ric Flair, Blackjack Mulligan, Wahoo McDaniel, Roddy Piper, Jimmy Snuka. I don't know if I said Ricky Steamboat or not, but if I did, I said it again. We used to go to Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina, every 2 to 3 weeks. My dad would take me and a bunch of my friends up there to watch it. And of course, we thought it was real and believed every bit of it. So we loved wrestling and we loved music. And there were a couple records that came out. And whenever I listen to a couple songs on these two records right here, I immediately think of going to Greensboro and going to wrestling, right? It puts me in that place, and that's what I love about music. It puts you in a place, a time frame in your life. But the first one I'll show you, Taking It to the Streets, about the Doobie Brothers, specifically the song Taking It to the Streets, and It Keeps You Running. More It Keeps You Running than Taking It to the Street. Whenever I hear It Keeps You Running, immediately I'm back at Greensboro. I'm back at the Coliseum watching wrestling or watching it on TV on a Saturday night or whatever. But the other one is this one. Where'd it go? You go, turn around. Frampton Comes Alive. Same time frame, same feelings, lines on my face on this record, or Something's Happening does it to me. But so these two albums right here are very influential in some great memories in my life. I still love this record to death. And like I said, this was a good record, but those two songs for me are on this one. So anyway, Frampton Comes Alive, Doobie's Taking It to the Streets. Yeah, man. Now this next one was a record that whenever we got it, everybody that got it, we got it because we heard a song or two on this record. And it was so different. It was so different because it was unlike anything we had heard, or it was just kind of obscure for us at that age. Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. Yeah, man. I mean, the title song's great. Took the words right out of my mouth. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So good, man. I mean, I remember my first time I ever had this record at home, my mama thought I was headed straight to hell, right? Because of this. Yeah, boy. Nah, not happening. But yeah, and it was just so good. And every song on it, and I remember in school and with my friends, we would play this record on 8-track at that time. So, yeah, Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, man. One of the influential records. Not so much that I liked that kind of music and wanted to buy that kind of music more, but it was more so that it was different and it was melodic. And for you people, and I wasn't a theater guy, I wasn't a music theater type guy at all. I actually was an athletic guy. I played a lot of sports. But this was just so different because it was so music theater and I liked it. And so it gave me a big appreciation for this kind of music. So anyway, that was a big influential record. Another one, I watched TV one day and I was watching television and this concert was on in its entirety. And I'd never seen anything like this. I had never seen a music festival, like a rock music festival. I'd never seen one. And I watched it and I got to see it again on a rerun later or whatever. But it was this, California Jam 2, Ted Nugent, Aerosmith, Heart, Santana. Man, look at that. Look at that. So cool, man. Look at that. There's Nuge, Mahogany Rush, Heart. Wow. Was Skinner in this? I don't even remember. It was like Aerosmith, Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush, Rubicon, Santana, Dave Mason. He did We Just Disagree. Heart, Ted Nugent. It's a great record, man. So later in years, I found this later. I found this in a used bin. I had to grab it, so I don't listen to it a whole lot. But boy, I remember, and every now and then I'll pull it up on YouTube and watch it. So another record that was pretty influential for me as a kid, and I'll tell you why. My dad, when I was a kid, my dad played baseball, and that we always lived wherever he played baseball at, and we were in Virginia at the time, and well, we were back in North Carolina at the time, and we were going to my grandparents' house in Philadelphia, and we stopped in a little town in Virginia to see one of his former coaches. And this coach had some kids that were in college and playing ball and stuff, baseball, and they were home on break, and they had a basement that had a stereo in it. The basement was all blacked out, and they had candles and incense burning and stuff. And man, at 10 years old, I really don't remember, anything about the music other than what I was listening to. I don't remember what they were doing in the basement. I know they were passing a bong around. I know that much. And I didn't know what the heck that was, but I just passed it right on by. I was a little kid. And I remember listening to the record that was on, and I kept thinking, God, I love this. I was more concerned about what the song was and what band was playing than I was with what they were doing. I could care less what they were doing. And finally, I realized what it was that they were playing. That. The song remains the same. Led Zeppelin, Man Alive. And I begged my parents to go buy this record for me when they got home. I can't remember if they went and bought it or if I went and actually bought it myself. But man, it was Dazed and Confused was the song that was on. And then Stairway to Heaven I heard, of course, and all that. But I still play this record today. I love it. This is an original. When they did a remaster of this, some of the banter that Robert Plant does in the songs, like especially Stairway to Heaven, like there's a part that, you know, does anybody remember laughter and stuff like that? In the remaster, some of that's cut out, and I like the original much better, so I try to stick to the original on that when I play it. So anyway, that was pretty influential in me and some memories and getting more into harder rock and stuff like that. So that was a big deal for me. I think this record here was, it was a little bit later than this, but still, this record when it came out made a difference in a lot of people that loved harder music. There you go. I remember sitting in the park. I was in high school when this one came out. Now, early high school, and I remember sitting in the parking lot, and this one guy was walking across the parking lot going to get in a car to go home, and he was carrying this record. And I remember asking him, "What is that? What is that record?" Because it was intriguing to me, you know, with this. And he told me what it was, and I think I might have heard it that night or on the radio or whatever, and fell in love with this whole. There's not a song on this record I don't like. I love everything about it. It's my favorite AC/DC song record, and can't go wrong with this one. But that was really influential too. In my high school years, my early to mid high school years, this was a pretty big influential record. These records that I'm showing, you know, I'm going back and forth in time frames. I didn't necessarily do them in chronological. Okay, well, this one was when I was 8 years old, and this was whatever. They're back and forth, but still, what my whole point is to make, you know, let you see that some of the ones that were influential in my life. This was another one that was really influential too. I showed this one the other day. I'll show it again briefly. This was the Queen Will Live Killers. I still love this today. This was another one that we played a lot with the record I just showed you, Highway to Hell, and the one I'm going to show you coming up. But this was pretty influential. Let me show you something real quick. This is really cool right here. Let me show you this if I can get it. Where is it? Right there. Right there. That's my Queen ticket when I went to see him with Freddie Mercury. These are just some of my tickets from the 70s, just some of them. I wish I had kept them all, but these are just some. But yeah, that's the Queen with Freddie Mercury back in, let's see what the date was. August 14th. August 14th, 1980. Yep, August 14th, 1980. I think it may be 81. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's 80. Saw Queen. So anyway, put that over here. I got to see that band, but a very, very influential record for me. Another one that was highly influential for me, and I don't know why I liked it so much, but I loved it, was Styx Paradise Theater. I just loved Tommy Shaw. But Styx Paradise Theater, I love Tommy Shaw. I love his voice. I love the things he writes. I've always been a big Styx fan, and the way that he writes, the way he sings. I got to see this tour, the Paradise Theater tour, and I thought it was just phenomenal. Anyway, this was a really highly influential record. Later in my high school, there's a lot of things that happened in high school that were really cool for me, and I remember playing this record a lot. And so anyway, that's another one. So the last one I want to show you guys, as I've mentioned before, Kiss Alive is my favorite record of all time, and Kiss. When I was a kid, I would read Cream magazine, and good gosh, man, every time Kiss was in it, which was about every issue, I totally lost my mind, pulling the posters out, you know, putting them on the wall, stuff like that. But before Kiss Alive, I didn't start as a Kiss fan with Kiss Alive, or the debut record, or Dressed to Kill, or Hotter Than Hell, or whatever. This was what I started with, because somebody let me borrow it, because I'd never heard of them. Rock and Roll Over. I still, to this day, love every song on it. Baby Driver might be one of my favorite Kiss songs, but it's just loaded with great stuff. Sonically sounds amazing. You know, it's just just great, man. But this was the first Kiss record I ever got. So when I got this record, I immediately fell in love with it. But the cover fascinated me. You know, just the. But you know, and I say all that. But people that became Kiss fans as kids, we were all fascinated with this. These were our superheroes, man. These were larger than life characters. And I went from this record, and then I went back to Alive 1. And of course, Alive 2 came out and all that kind of stuff. But this one was great. I love this record, Rock and Roll Over. So, man, look, those were just some of the records for me that were influential in my life as a kid growing up. And then I've expanded to go buy more of records by every band I showed you, plus tons more. And my musical taste is so eclectic now. But man, I know you probably have some that were influential in your life. Man, put them in the comments section. Let me know. Some of these may have been the same for you. I'd love to hear that. So anyway, subscribe down there at the button. Hope you enjoyed this little trip down my memory lane a little bit. And we'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.